find that a perfectly appropriate conversation to have. Does she have the adequate support to undertake these official functions?
Always wanting more to do self-promotion, to do vanity trips, to do the things that he likes to do. And I think that's where the challenge is, and where a lot of Canadians would question more.
To hear of potential hardships at the level of 24 Sussex is certainly not in line with with not being in tune with what Canadian women are facing on a daily basis.
Okay, just some of the political reaction to Sophie Gregoire Trudeau publicly stating that she and her assistant are overwhelmed by requests and invitations to attend and speak at events. The Prime Minister's office now says it's looking at ways to assist her to deal with the workload and with fielding those requests. Back with the power panel, Rick, Jerry, Susan, and Chris. This isn't going to cause any trouble at all, I'm sure, this discussion. Susan, I'll let you start. What do you make of the request, I guess, or the concern that Sophie Gregoire Trudeau has, and then the Prime Minister's office acknowledging that they are going to look to see if there's any way to help her manage this?
Well, let's look at what's happened to Sophie Gregoire Trudeau and the role that she has played. Even though there's no official First Lady role in Canada, I think Sophie Trudeau has stepped up and is responding to Canadians and is doing her level best to respond to many of the requests.
I got to stop you there, because we did ask today from the Prime Minister's office, how many invites is she getting? What speeches? How many?
They probably can't count them at this stage of the game.
Well, maybe they can't count them, but they're certainly not telling us. So you're assuming that she's getting this. I don't know.
I would
have
assume
no
she
facts.
is.
I have
Rosemary,
no
when I
facts.
sit in my business life, when I sit and I talk to clients and people in events, let's get Sophie is a frequent request, right? There's a change at 24 Sussex. There's a different kind of family at 24 Sussex. The kind of interaction they have with people is very different. She is responding to the requests that are coming in. She's not going out looking for these things to do. This is what's coming in the door. So if the Canadian public would like the Prime Minister's wife to shut down, not participate, and be able to provide assistance and profile and things to the organizations. It's of benefit to the organizations, not Sophie, when she lends her name and participates in trying to elevate a particular charity's exercise or whatever. So you know what? If people want her to start saying no to more stuff, that's fine, good. But if there's a demand on her and they expect her to do the things that come with the job, whether it's official or unofficial, they have to figure that out.
Well, 2 points. I don't know what she's doing, because they don't put out a release saying what she's doing every day.
Well, I don't think they have to either.
Well, if we're going to start paying for the staff, I think that they are going to have to.
Can I just address
that? So does playgroup count in that, or does
No, I think address just two quick points. One is that should taxpayers pay this money, and I'm open-minded about this, there should be greater scrutiny of what she's being asked to do and what she's being spent, what's being spent, who she's turned down, and whether her expenses are associated with it. A level of scrutiny that I think that they may not like. The other thing is that my understanding of the way most spouses of leaders work is that they choose 4 or 5 causes and that they devote themselves to that. She can spread herself as thinly as she wants, but that's her choice. She could also do what Michelle Obama has done and chosen specific things to choose to promote, whether it's literacy.
But Michelle Obama has the staff to back it up. The other option for Ms. Trudeau is that the party pays for some of the activities that she's doing. But we've just had a big foofara about what the party pays for. We saw that with Christy Clark, and we saw that with other things. So people, you can't have it both ways. Would you like the Prime Minister's wife to participate? Would you and is that of benefit to the country and the communities that she's involved in? I think it is.
But would you agree then, Susan, though, if she needs further staff to accept all these mountain of invitations, that there should be accountability in that? I mean, if taxpayers are paying for her to have an office and respond to these, then taxpayers deserve to know the kinds of things that she's doing too.
I think but are we going to put every single invitation out there? Does the Prime Minister do that?
No. But that's not what I'm suggesting either.
But I think people need to be reasonable. I think Nikki Ashton's point actually really made me mad. She said something to the effect of, well, her experience doesn't reflect that of every Canadian mother. It doesn't. And that's not to diminish what other Canadian mothers are doing. But I think the the burden, the responsibility she has on her plate, you cannot compare to every other Canadian.
Okay, Lorraine Harper took up, Rick had lots of different charities that she did stuff for the SPCA, she had the Trail, the National Arts Centre. I'm not sure what kind of staff she had, but
cats.
I mean,
don't forget the cats.
Yeah, that's what I said, the SPCA.
Yeah.
She adopted cats and pets and stuff. Rick, what do you think of this?
Well, I think it's a good thing for Prime Minister's spouses to be active in the public eye and to be responsive. If people write them letters, school children or members of the public, they're probably entitled to get a response, and I don't think they should have to, sit up all night long writing that themselves. And if people invite them to come and speak at things, they should be entitled to get a response from the spouse of a Prime Minister.
She does have one assistant, I should point out.
She does.
They just said it's not enough.
She does. And of course, if you're writing a form letter back saying not available, it doesn't take a lot of staff to do that. If you're actually going to say yes to a lot of events, it takes more staff. I think you're right, Rosie, that if we're funding that, we probably need to know what it's being used for. But, obviously, if she's accepting public invitations, there's a public element to it, so we're going to see it. I think it's good for her to be doing what she's doing, and I think we should support her.
Yeah.
As taxpayers in the country. I think we should get rid of the myth that we don't have a First Lady. Neither do the Americans have that in the Constitution. It's a tradition. And over the years, the spouse of the head of government has become a more and more public figure in most cases, not with every individual.
Yes.
And I think basically that's a positive good from the public's perspective. The problem is, and this is where I think Susan is not quite right, is that it's not just for the benefit of the organizations that they show up for, it's also for the benefit of the person and the couple and of their political party. And so there's a question of how much of this should be paid for by the taxpayers versus how much by the party. And that's the real conversation I think we should have right now. The Prime Minister's office does have a budget. They tend to grow year after year after year, government after government after government. This one's probably going to be the same pattern. And maybe this is one of the things they should fund. But I think basically we should figure out how much the Prime Minister's office has in terms of funding from the taxpayers for all the things they do to support the Prime Minister and the Prime Minister's spouse. And not kind of get into a micro, how much is spent answering mail, how much is spent going to events, how much is spent blah, blah, blah. It's an overall thing. And I don't think we tend to get bogged down in this country on really small parts of these things as opposed to the bigger picture.
And to lots of people on Twitter reminding us that Mila Mulrooney had staff and she had an office inside the Langevin block, but other spouses have not. And I agree. This is everybody chooses how they want to play this role and how active they want to be. And again, for people who are mad at me, I'm not suggesting that she can't do this. I'm just saying what level of accountability is then required if more staff are added to her. Jerry, quickly to you and then a break.
Yeah, I've been trying to work my way through this. My first reaction was very curmudgeonly. I said nobody voted for Sophie. She didn't run in any riding. She wasn't in any ballot. Why should any public money go to her? But the fact is, Mila is very interesting because she is the closest thing to a Mila that we've had in many, many decades in the form of a Prime Minister's wife who wanted to get out there, and when she did, was a darling of the crowd. That hasn't been true for most of our Prime Ministers and their wives, so it was never an issue. They didn't want to talk to anybody, so they didn't need help doing it. But it's true that she is clearly archaic at the moment. She's a different cup of tea, just as the Prime Minister at the moment remains a different cup of tea. They have this charisma that touches lots of people, and they're going to get all this correspondence. But then I'm still very confused about what you do with it. I take Rick's important point. It does not help the government of Canada or the people of Canada at all if Sophie is able to answer all these letters.
Well, it may.
It does help. It helps the Liberal Party a great deal.
Well, no, I didn't say that. That wasn't my point.
Then I got to go. Yeah.
I didn't say that, Jerry, quite. I said it does help those organizations, and it does, I think, help people of Canada to get answers from their elected officials and their spouses in this case. But there's a line about how much of it should be paid for by the government versus the party. That's what I was trying to say about that.
I agree with that.
Okay, Dale Dewar on Twitter says that Rick Anderson, he thanks you for your maturity. There you go. There you go, Rick Anderson. That's got to be a first, right?
That's one of those words, though, that kind of works both ways.
Your children do, too, Rick.
Okay, we're going to take a break. We're going to put these guys on pause when you get back.